To talk about today is a French proposal to change the way that the United Nations works. And what the French want to do is they want to say that at the Security Council that a country should not be able to veto a resolution if mass atrocities have been committed. And at first you think, okay, that sounds like a really good idea, right? I mean, who wants mass atrocities to go on without being impeded? But if you look at it a little bit closer, there's actually several reasons why this is a really bad idea. And the first one is that the veto at the Security Council doesn't exist without a reason. So, the United Nations Security Council, it's part of the United Nations, and it's a very select part. There's 15 members, 10 of them are non-permanent members, and they don't have a veto. They're elected every 2 years. But 5 of them are what we call the permanent members, and we call them the P5 in international law. And the P5 are the United States, the United Kingdom, France, Russia, and China. And each of them has a veto. So whenever the Security Council wants to authorize force, and the Security Council is the only body in international law that can authorize the use of force, they can veto it because they want to say, hey, we don't want you to do that. There's some reason we feel that impinges on our interests, or we're not satisfied with how the force is going to happen and we think that would be a bad idea. And the reason it exists is because what most people don't talk about a lot is that those countries have really, really big armies. They're very, very powerful militarily and economically. So the last thing you want is for those countries to go to war against each other. Now, the second reason it's a bad idea is that people, of course, hear mass atrocities and they see pictures of things that are happening around in the world, and they feel really bad for people, right? They want to help, and they want to say, you know, we want to help these people and we want to stop that from happening. But the truth is that, well, you can't really manufacture mass atrocities. You can kind of fake them for a little while. And unfortunately, this has happened before. There was a very, very famous case in the first Iraq War where a girl gave testimony at the US Congress, and she said that she had seen Iraqi soldiers taking babies out of incubators in Kuwait and throwing them on the floor and letting them die. And it became like a really big issue, you know, it really incensed people and they wanted to take action against Iraq. And at the time, human rights groups confirmed that this had happened, and it turned out later that it was actually all fabricated. And the girl in question was actually the daughter of the Kuwaiti ambassador, who was basically bankrolling a public relations campaign that was run by a very professional public relations company, Hill and Knowlton. And the same, of course, happened with weapons of mass destruction in Iraq later in the second Iraq War. So you see, the problem is we can assert and ascertain when these mass atrocities occur, but we kind of have this whole PR and media circus in a way, which means we're not really sure if what we're doing really does have that impact. And the third and final reason is that this proposal will detract from what the Security Council is really supposed to be doing, because the Security Council is supposed to be working towards a situation of disarmament in the world. The UN Charter obligates them to try to divert resources away from the production of arms. Now, unfortunately, the P5 are the biggest producers of arms in the world today, the P5 plus Germany. So they produce 3/4, together with Germany, of all weapons in the world today. 500 million people are killed in conventional warfare using small arms. 12 billion bullets are produced every single year, not to mention very expensive weapons like tanks and anti-aircraft missiles, which are basically flooded throughout the world. And in that situation, A, it's very unstable, because whenever a problem breaks out, people generally have a lot of arms at their disposal, and B, it means that the veto, in a way, can almost never go away, because we always have this huge imbalance of military power. If they had to disarm, the veto would become less and less relevant, and we could eventually get rid of the veto, but in a way that would be safe for everybody. So that's why, although it looks good on the surface, the French proposal is actually a really bad idea.